Hi, everybody. Welcome to Goddesses and Devils. My name is Donna Gorton, fill-in co-host for Amanda Mcmanus, who is out on leave currently. And that's my co-host, Katie Kamara. And welcome to the show. So before we begin, we always like to lay down some ground rules. We do not tolerate any BS or disrespect or rudeness of any kind. There is a zero tolerance policy in effect for that. So please do not come in with any drama, any disruptions of any kind, rudeness, disrespect to anyone within the chat or otherwise, or you will be immediately removed and blocked from the show. So that's thrown out there. Be nice to everybody, guys. It's really easy. So
Kindness does
tonight,
go a long way.
it does, it's not difficult. Golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. Simple as that. So for tonight, we're going to be discussing social media influencers, try to say that one, Donna, and also kind of like what is the impact of that, and how does that play out in a negative way? What's the downside of that? Some people handle it quite well as a respect thing and look at it as being a responsibility to the audience to carry yourself and conduct yourself in a certain way. Others, well, not so much. And it can have a negative effect and run like wildfire, especially amongst the world's youth population, who are much more influenceable than some adults are. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Hi to everybody in my Facebook group, Willow's Bend, who are waving hi to everybody, and welcome tonight. We're also viewable on YouTube and somafusionmedia.com. You're welcome. Please like and share the show out. We appreciate that, as well as our YouTube channel, so we can be seen and heard globally on a number of different social media sites. So I personally watch the chat for my group on Willow's Bend on Facebook, because the same people go over to the YouTube chat. So it's just easier for my members to come into my group to watch rather than anywhere else. So feel free to call in if you have any questions, concerns, comments you want to add to the discussion tonight. The live call-in number is area code 929-436-2866. And when prompted, enter the meeting ID number 522-657-2748, which is visible below the video of us on the banner running across the screen. So there you have it. So with that, let's get started. Absolutely. See, she's pointing it out right there. Easy to find. So welcome everybody who is listening and viewing globally. So tonight, like I said, we're going to talk about how, what is the responsibility of a social media influencer? And again, how does that play out regarding in a negative way? What are some of the dangers that has posed through the last decade or two with the advent and popularity of social media influencers, YouTube challenges and all these other things that have taken place, which there have been a number of them that have been have had a death toll associated with them, which is frightening. And today's youth are influenceable and keeping up with their peers and so forth. So we're going to kind of jump right into that.
But before we do that, I just wanted to mention what a social media influencer is by definition, and I'm going to read this word for word. A social media influencer is a user who has established credibility in a specific industry, has access to a huge audience, and can persuade others to act based on their recommendations. An influencer has the tools and authenticity to attract many viewers consistently and can motivate others to expand their social reach. An influencer may be anyone from a blogger to a celebrity to an online entrepreneur. They simply must capitalize on a niche to attain a widespread credibility. And with that, they are able to persuade. So for people who jump on the bandwagon of social media experiments, even the capacity. I mean, you got to remember too, if we're looking at social media influence, the emojis that we see on every single post that we post up on Facebook in particular are actually part of a social experiment which started well over a decade ago, to see what the influence on people's posts were actually. Of course, these days now, back 10 years ago, it was great because the algorithms were absolutely wonderful. Now you hardly get to see half of your friends' posts or the people that you really truly follow on the on social media itself. And of course you see all these pages and all these people that you can follow. They have umpteen thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, and you wonder how credible these people are, and how do they get some of these likes and shares and all of that kind of stuff. Now, of course, me personally, I've been on social media for well over a decade, and of course, in the last 8 years, I've formed my career. So, in other words, the stuff that I put out is to my expertise. And of course, yes, Donna and I are social media influencers. I know that I have many. Up until some social media platforms had broken down, I had over 900 million followers. 900 million. What am I saying? 900,000 followers. I had 450,000 followers up on Google Plus before that even broke down. So, being a social media influencer by expertise is a very, very big thing, and it goes straight into how we market things as well. Then we have the other end of the spectrum where monkey see, monkey do society. We're going to do something that is fad and that is rad at the time, and we're going to experiment and show the world of our experience. Now, the biggest social media influencer was pretty much overnight is the Gorilla Girl, the Gorilla Glue Girl. I don't know, Donna, if you were going to mention about that, but that one's highly publicized right now. And of course, the Gorilla Glue Girl is somewhat of a mistake. And of course, after that came another girl who decided to use that story as a fan fad. And instantly she was trolled. Instantly she was brought down. And of course, going back to what I was saying about the emoji emoticons, there's a reason why we have those up on the social media posts. It's so that we can like and we can know exactly how to gauge and how to best look for. So, in other words, to give you a little example, I write intuitive posts, and of course people who know me through and through will see exactly what I write, and just go up onto social media to find that out. But then I will also, at the same time I'm writing, even though I am channeling and I'm doing it at random, I'm also looking for the engagement. What is popular to people? What is not popular to people? Now, when I started writing articles, for instance, I put out an article which was in the spiritual community, a very, very hot topic, and it was all about twin flames, and there were a lot of communities that were a little confused about what a twin flame really was. So I wrote an in-depth article. Plus, I backed it up with 3 consecutive shows on Soma Fusion Radio to kind of educate and engage people, because you know me, I'm all about education. So with that said, I put up that post once, and apparently somehow, some way, I mean, it might have been just the luck of the draw, that one article became a viral hit, and it's now been read over 18,500 people now all over the world. Now, I don't even know how that happened. Any person that has millions of followers would obviously engage in strategic marketing skills. But then again, who knows? Maybe I was just in the right place at the right time, and people just really wanted to hear about it. So sometimes when social media fads and that happen, it's kind of like, it can be very, very random. One minute you don't want to know anything about puppy dogs, but the next minute you want to know about cats. So it really, in terms of influence, it really evolves on how you respond to things. And of course, Donna's going to go into some of the fads that are going the fads that are going on social media and how detrimental it is to psychology. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, and it's funny because I did a few notes, not much because my hand's still not great for handwriting. For those who are new to me or listening, I'd had hand surgery done a couple weeks ago, so I'm still healing and tender, whatever. So, but I started out with the definition for social media influencers. Great minds think alike. So, that's one thing. You mentioned the Gorilla Glue Girl, and say that one fast 3 times. And I was struck by a video interview I saw with her kind of after the fact, where she was complaining immensely over the backlash she's gotten online from that event. Yet, what would draw someone to post it to start with? If I had done something that incredibly stupid and it had that massive of an impact on my life, I, for one, would not go and blast it all over the internet and not expect a backlash to come from that. And it just kind of struck me that she truly was dumbstruck by the fact that she was getting backlash on it, rather than, I guess, everybody just empathizing with her, which, sure, we all can imagine how horrible what her experience has been and so forth. But at the same time, why go public with it to the degree in which she did, but to not expect people to voice their opinions on that? But, she could even be called a social media influencer, because there have been others who have gone on to try the same thing. And Aaron in my chat had mentioned somebody who tried it and Gorilla glued a cup to their face, over their mouths.
Yeah,
and there
and
are
I mean, it goes into the other challenge too that was done like 4 years ago or something, during winter. How many people could go onto TikTok and I mean, we've all done this as a child, and don't say that you didn't, because if you did, if you say right now that you didn't do this, then you're a liar. But that is to go out and stick your tongue to something really cold while in the snow. So this was a fad that started off. Some of these little fads that come out, they start off really, really small, and then they start to get to the extravagance. It's not so much these small little fads that go on. It's the big ones, and how much. I mean, I know with the Gorilla Glue, I'll never say it right. That girl, the glue girl. That's what I'm just going to say. With that girl, she honestly did. She was seeking out. I saw the original videos that she had, and she was really, really upset with herself because she made a foolish mistake, and she was trying to reach out to the public for help. She's like, I know I screwed up, like, but what the hell, like, I mean, we've all been there. We've all been there. We've made some stupid mistakes, but it's a 50-50 risk as to what you say up on social media. You are, the moment you go from being personal to public, you have a 50-50 risk of being misunderstood, misconstrued. You have 50-50 chance of taking a hit for a foolish mistake, whether or not you understood it or not. You have plenty of room. You have plenty of rope to pretty much hang yourself, really. There are a lot of people
with that one anyway, with the Gorilla Glue Girl thing, that it went on to become a Saturday Night Live skit where they were mocking it and using it was, I thought, had a racist tilt to it, but using all the black actors on the show to portray like this family who had done this stuff, and then we're going on to sue, and it was kind of from the environment of, hey, we're lawyers who represent people who do this against the company, seeking out lawsuits and so forth for this, and just completely mocking it. And that to me is a sign of just how global that whole decision to go public with that went, when it becomes, they say that mockery is the greatest form of flattery. Well, we kind of got there with that one, but we have all done stupid stuff in our lives and made horrible choices at some point or another that did have a massive impact. Maybe not quite as big as that one, but again, the decision to go public with that, to be completely unexpecting those to voice their opinions in a negative respect and not just be supporting and holding her hand through that. I think that she was very fortunate who had a surgeon come forward offering to perform surgery for free for her to help her repair the damage from that. But
I mean, there are cases. I mean, I get right now that we've been in COVID, and we've been in COVID since what, February 2020, and beyond the conspiracy theories, I know, but let's just say February 2020, we've been in COVID, March officially, and of course, there are a lot of people that are isolated in their homes. They're withdrawn. It's not like we all go outside and I mean, there's a heavy population that are still going out for their little walks and just to get fresh air and so on and so forth. But at the same time, we're now in a quote unquote society that is so isolated that phone calling and video chat and social media has now become the way of the world, and the way to reach out to people. I don't know how many countless times I've seen people write up a post on social media, and they're looking for a plumber, they're looking for some furniture, they're looking for whatever it is that they need. And it's like, hang on, when did Facebook become, or social media in general, become the classifieds? Why can't we go? We live in an internet age, and yet, to find help, we're now Googling stuff. We're now trying to fix it ourselves, and it doesn't matter how detrimental it's going to be. But at the same time, it's really right now, it seems to be the only way. And of course, are we going into a social media trend of we're now looking for virtual help rather than actual help?
I've had even people voice that they do not know how to use a phone book to look up whatever topic they may need assistance with. They truly don't know how to use one anymore. And to me, that's kind of a scary sign of where our society has gone. And I get it due to COVID with the social isolation, and that the internet is really all that's mainly keeping people linked together nowadays. And I don't negate the importance of that. Of course, we are social beings that need that contact with each other, but to lose the initial foundation of skills for survival in today's world, one should not, it's kind of like all the hoopla that happened over today's children not being able to read cursive or write in cursive anymore. And I mean, in one sense, I can get it, because everything that happens in the world is printed. So cursive isn't actively used anymore. But do I think it should still be taught and one should know how to read and write it? Yes. And it's very small focus in the education of today's youth. And, they maybe spend one semester on it in fourth grade or something, and then that's it. They're not required to use it ever again. But that is going to automatically create a gap between the previous generation and them, who penmanship was an important part of things back then. And so a lot of things are just shifting, and nobody planned on the COVID thing to happen, of course, and the isolation that has come from that. But
the other thing is too, is that these little trends that are going on social media too are actually keeping us occupied.
They are, but not in a good way, especially amongst the youth. And peer interaction is very important in the development of today's youth. However, that said, it shouldn't be so quick to jump on a bandwagon where it completely lacks common sense. Now, some of the challenges out there are strictly just fun, and okay, they're completely harmless in nature. When my daughter was a teenager, the ice bucket challenge was big, and it wasn't a matter of, it was just to see, would you go through with either having a bucket of ice water dumped on you or jumping into a cold creek or whatever. And that was it. And then they would nominate the next couple people to do it.
Yeah,
And it was pretty harmless in nature. They weren't doing it in the wintertime or something. So I couldn't, I didn't feel the need to intervene on that. But it kind of, they lost that piece of it of donating if you didn't do it or didn't want to do it, whatever. And it just became like a personal thing of, will I go do this, and the ha 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 part of it. But some of these other trends have become downright dangerous, and there have been
that's my concern, is the fact that we've gone back in the noughties. So I'm talking about the year 2000s to the year 2010. Back then it was all about pranking. Now it's all about upping the ante to see what health benefit these fads are actually doing to you. And with that said, we do have a caller, so I'm going to let him in. Caller area code 203, you're on the air. Who are we speaking to?
You're speaking to Amanda.
Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Amanda.
Hey, guys. Hey, Donna. Hey, Katie. So I was listening, and I also wanted to jump in a little bit. I know I said I was going to take a step back tonight, but the only reason why I wanted to jump in was because the simple fact is that when we're talking about influencers, we're talking about people like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, Bretman Rock, Jeffree Star. We're talking about Kylie Jenner and a couple others out there that we're talking about as well, right? So when you had the Kylie Jenner, influencer thing with the lips, where people would use this little suction cup to make their lips look plumped and bigger, a lot of people winded up, having adverse reactions to it, because what happened is when you're doing this, you're actually putting pressure inside that you're creating that suction, you're putting pressure into the lips, you're building up blood into the lips, and you're swelling your lips up, which can lead into necrosis, which is death of the tissue. And some individuals suffered necrosis of the lips because of it and had adverse reactions. Now, when we talk about influencers, we talk about how influencers actually influence the younger population. Now, social media has been a gateway for everything. You know how drugs are a gateway? Well, guess what? Social media is a gateway. And a lot of these influencers who are doing some of this erroneous activities, what they're actually doing is they're putting it out there to really impressionable individuals who want to try it, who want to change, who want to be different, who want to be a part of, what's going on in the world, a part of the in crowd, etc. Now, when you have individuals like Jeffree Star, he started off as testing out makeup and doing reviews, which I have nothing against, right? So he would actually go try on makeup and then give you a review whether the makeup was good, was it pliable, was it flaky, etc. I don't really mind influencers like that. The reason why I don't mind influencers like that is because they're actually testing products and they're giving the general public some feedback on these products, so therefore you don't go and buy this expensive Kylie Jenner cosmetics, which can run you about $90 to $100 for just a thing of lipstick. You know what I mean? But then you have individuals like Logan Paul, who once was a Disney star, as well as Jake Paul. They were actually Disney stars who decided to become YouTubers, who then had this young followers to begin with from Disney. So they kind of took that over to their YouTube channel. But then they started doing these things that became really concerning, I would say. The reason why it's concerning because they were performing acts that are dangerous, lighting their mattresses on fire, putting alcohol on their hand, lighting it up, doing stuff like that. Logan Paul actually got very bad feedback because he went to a place, and I believe it's in Japan or China. I'm not 100% sure which one geologically located where it is. But there's a place called Suicide Forest where a lot of people go there, and they actually do commit suicide. Upon him going there, this was not an planned thing. He actually did run into an individual who was hanging in the forest, and he decided that he was going to publicize that on his YouTube channel, and he received a lot of backlash for that. A lot of it because this individual was a person who felt so struck down by society, life, that they didn't feel like they needed to exist anymore, and so they went to this forest and they killed themselves. And now you have this person acting in just an inappropriate behavior, filming the dead body hanging, making comments, etc., and he wound up getting a lot of backlash from it. Okay, and these are the things you got to look at.
Interrupt you, Amanda, but there are actually some challenges that culminate with the person committing suicide at the end. And in statements and interviewing the person who started that challenge, they were voicing how it was, taking out the trash of society by engaging those people willing to do it. And it was like a 50-day long challenge, but that was the final challenge, was to take your own life. And there were a couple people who did that. And they were very...
Right, you had an 8-year-old that did that. You had a 10-year-old that did it. Yeah, they were children when they did it. Yeah.
Scary stuff.
Well, this is what I'm talking about with these influencers. You know what I mean? We have influencers who have high notability within society, and then we have some that gain their notoriety through their channels and through whatever else, and they promote these type of things. Now, like I was saying about Logan Paul, he actually, like I said, went to Suicide Forest to see if he could find dead bodies, and he actually did. But the backlash he received from it, but that still doesn't justify what he did to that person, where he exploited them on social media after they just had committed, this act out of pure desperation and sadness and whatever reasons they did it. And this is the stuff that we're talking about,
and they were making fun of it in the moment too.
Exactly.
They were making fun of the person who did it, and I found a body, and how funny that was. And then after, in the aftermath of it, once they had their video removed by YouTube and so forth, they retracted.
Then they want to be sorry.
And did like an apology.
Then they want to be sorry.
Kind of closing the barn door after the cows got out, in my opinion. And that's the mindset of these people doing these things, which to me is more disturbing than anything, is that there are people who sit around thinking like this in their daily lives. It's just gobsmacked.
Well, and then you have people promoting it to do it. So that's the point here, is that social media has become a gateway, and a lot of the times it's a gateway to the wrong things. And influencers, like I said, with influencers, we look up to these people. We look to them as being popular, to being individuals who can influence a crowd. A lot of times they're influencing crowds that are going through emotional situations in their own life and instabilities within themselves, that they commit these acts due to these challenges. And that's the thing. Instead of these influencers using their popularity to promote good things like education, like stopping world hunger, like climate change, or whatever the case that is productive in the sense of making a actual change for a benefit of something, these individuals are not for that. It's about marketing. It's about, notoriety. It's about getting famous. It's about collecting on other people's sorrows, misery, and pain, and the stupidity of people, the ignorance. It's just really to the point where people enjoy more of the stupid things than they do the positive things. So that's why these individuals focus on a lot of these stupid things, these acts like, sucking their lips into a cup to make them look bigger, to set your hand on fire with alcohol, and, things like that, because that is something that's dangerous. It's something in the sense that catches them and entertains them for that brief moment, but people don't really understand the harm. And like I said, you know what? Stopping world hunger does not sell. Stopping people who are in socially economic impacted inner city individuals who don't have the means to a proper education or books or things like that, instead of influencing the change in that, these individuals don't, because what happens is they're not going to gain the fame, the fortune, the notoriety in doing these things, because guess what? That does not sell. What sells is stupid.
The other thing is too. Other thing is too is that these little fads that are going on, the experiments, or call it what you will, these challenges, are also being picked up by major celebrities. So they start off small, then they get picked up by these celebrities, and these celebrities actually go ahead and they go and do whatever the latest fad is, and then they endorse it. It's like, what the hell? So
why don't we do that with education or animal cruelty or things like that? Well, you know why? Because it's not going to sell.
Because nobody wants to learn.
all youth worldwide, regardless what culture you're from, are influenceable, and also fail to be able to distinguish long-term consequences in their actions. We've all been there as teens and done really stupid, idiotic things along the way that in the aftermath, as adults, we facepalm ourselves saying, what was I thinking? But that's just it. We weren't thinking in the moment any more than today's kids are. It's a hallmark of being a teen or a youth in today's world. And well, any generation has that same aspect to the youth.
Well, it was like the ALS challenge where you would dump a bucket of cold water on yourself. I actually partook in that, but I also donated. And that was the whole point of partaking in it, was that you would do it and then you would donate. You know what I mean? And so it was the whole point of donating, and that's why, I was like, you know what? If this is for a good cause and, dumping water on me and making me look stupid, but yet I'm donating to the cause, I'm getting, whatever, I'm getting the right thing here right, in a sense, it's for a higher cause, that's not a problem. I actually did the ALS challenge, and we did donate, you know what I mean? But it's still, when you think about it, when you're dumping cold water, ice cold water on yourself, there's problems to be had with that, because that can also lead to individuals going into shock. Some individuals would dump cold water on themselves that has been sitting in ice. I remember somebody did it, I forgot where you could find it on Facebook, but we don't need to look for it. But somebody used dry ice, and if anybody knows about dry ice, it's it's to the point where dry ice is made where it's carbon dioxide, and it's pretty much caught, and it's frozen, and it's negative 200 degrees. So, when you put that in water and then you dump it on yourself, you're getting the off factor, because now you have the smoke coming from it, but you're also now dumping a liquid that is very, very dangerous to your skin. So this is the whole point about influencers and who they actually influence. They're actually influencing our youth, who are very impressionable, who are not understandable, who lack a lot of conscious thought and understanding and processing and things like that because of their age, and they take part in these things, and therefore, we have tragedies that occur, or we have things that turn out not so nice, like the pregnancy pact in that high school. So, there's a lot of things going on with social media, but the point is that we need to, as adults and as parents, we need to really start monitoring the influencers and the social media that we allow our children on, because these are the things that they're partaking in, because they don't know better. You know what I mean? And that's what it really comes down to. It's a lapse of judgment, and all it takes is a single lapse of judgment to create a situation where it becomes very, traumatic. It can be even result in death, like the Tide Pod challenge and the hot water challenge, where a little girl dumped a pot of hot water on her brother to do the boiling water challenge. And that's what it really comes down to, is that these individuals who are influencers are doing it for the wrong reasons versus the fact of doing it to actually change something for the greater good. Like I said, we don't see them influencing individuals to, here's the challenge. Let's do a nice challenge, or let's do a challenge where we donate to something, or when we do, you don't see that, because people don't want that. They want the entertainment. And so it really comes down, and it's question, where are these individuals psychologically? Why are these individuals still being allowed to promote this type of behavior when it can lead into these situations? You have Facebook, who's going around taking down all different types of information on websites, going after shows, going after whatever the case may be for falsified information, or spreading lies, or whatever, making these false accusations against these individuals who are trying to change things in society for the better. They're being taken down or attacked or things like that, as individuals who are influencers as well, and that are promoting certain behaviors in a population, and because of it, they're stating that it's not correct, where you have these influencers who are making millions of dollars to doing these challenges, but you don't see them being taken down. Well, why? Because that's entertainment, and that's what a lot of people crave. They crave that entertainment. They crave that excitement.
It's like it's appealing to the youth population and with intention, much like how mainstream news stations do to the adult population who stay glued to their TVs to watch the news every night. And, that is, of course, for the teenagers and youth. However, this stop is directly targeting that population. I got a whole list here of all the different challenges. And like with the Kylie Jenner lip challenge, I mean, who of us as kids didn't do that and just messing around of sucking into it, putting a cup over your mouth and sucking the air out of it to just, oh, look, the cup is floating, but we didn't leave it there until we cut off circulation and had massive bruising surrounding our mouths and causing nerve damage in there or needing stitches in some cases because they leave it on so long that the lips can swell to such an extent that they burst open and they need surgery and stitches in order to repair it. And that's where we differ, is we didn't take it to that level. To us, it was a playing around with a little magic trick type of thing. But oh, cool, look, I'm doing it, and then you took it off. So these have these one-upmanship mentality to them as well, with always trying to outdo the next one. And
here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that there is actually a challenge that's been around since 1995. That was long before Facebook and Twitter and Instagram came along, and all the other platforms that we now know as popular. And that is the pass out challenge. I don't know if you know what that one is. The pass out challenge,
that's where you put the pressure on the chest and you tell them to take a deep breath and then you push, and literally what you're doing is you're actually stopping the heart for a minute and you're making it skip a beat, which stimulates the vasovascular or the parasympathetic system within your body, and it causes you to lose conscious. Yeah.
Well, back in 1995, it was all about.
The version is just holding your breath until you pass out.
Yeah. And back in 1995, apparently there's been 82 deaths since that happened. But back in 1995, when the fad first started, they were actually choking. They weren't sitting on people's chests. They were choking. So I'm like, have we influenced a group of people or a community of people to actually kill one another? I mean, how far do we have to go? There was one death I
read about that occurred of a young man who was doing the breath holding part of the challenge, and he passed out, but he didn't make sure he was in a safe environment when he did it. He happened to have a glass sitting on his desk beside his computer, and when he passed out, he fell into it, smashing it, and a piece of the glass severed his jugular vein, and he bled to death. And there were other times where people would pass out, fall forward, and they would be near a window, smash through the window, smack their head on the concrete, causing a major aneurysm, and die from that. So, like, these things occur, and there's nobody that ever thinks about that when they set out to do these things.
I mean,
and that's wherein the problem lies, and not monitoring what your kids are doing online well enough to see what they're watching and trying to do, and being involved in their lives to enough of a degree that this is going around, and to sit and have a conversation with your kids about that.
Yeah, and I know
some of them are quite harmless. There's nothing to them, and nothing comes of it. But even with the ice water challenge, yes, shock can occur. It can stop your heart. If you're predisposed or you have some undiagnosed heart condition and it's unknown, well, you don't know you're going to respond that way by having your heart stop when you have ice water dumped on you, and you can die. And that's a very real thing, and it has happened, and yet nobody thinks about that ahead of time.
Well, and that's the thing, is that we don't see outcry of people trying to stop it either, but they want to complain about it when something bad happens. And that's what it really comes down to is, okay, well, we know this is occurring. Well, then we got to look at individuals that own these platforms, like Facebook, like Twitter, like all this, Instagram, whatever platform. We got to look at the individuals that own that and say, well, how come you're not sanctioning what goes on and up on these platforms, but yet you're sanctioning things of political nature or things of vaccination or health or whatever the case may be, things that you have a hand in, officially in a sense, why are they not responding to these situations and the danger that it imposes to the public and the same public that they have on these platforms? Well, because at the end of the day, it really comes down to entertainment, marketing. It comes down to financial gain, and that's the sad part about it, right? The sad part about it
let me go into another.
People are going to suffer before it's to the point where it's like, hey, this is enough. If you want to influence individuals, influence them for positive things such as education, such as like I said, world hunger, animal cruelty, supporting endangered wildlife in a sense, things like that. Well, because that doesn't sell.
Well, let me go into another avenue.
But I'm gonna hang up so you guys can continue. I'm gonna go back to watching. I love you guys. I just wanted to add that tidbit about some of the popular influencers out there that do things that are not appropriate in any which way, but yet they're still on there, and we still watch them because we don't see the harm in it. And so I just wanted to definitely bring that up, name-dropping wise. Usually I don't drop names, but in this case, because of it being so prominent and a problem within society, that's why I decided to do it. But I love you guys. I'm going to hang up.
Love you too, and love the Willow who's chiming in the background.
Yeah, he's like, Ma, get off the phone. All right, love you guys. Bye.
Love you,
love you too. So I
was just
have a list of some of the different challenges that have been out there.
Before we do that, though, I just wanted to mention something. I was trying to mention something before. It actually and I'm going to move away, just really briefly, away from the challenges. Now we all know the Pokemon game and how we played the Pokemons and how that has caused death. So how much influence do we have on, let's just say, those types of games, those apps, the other things that we're all concentrating right now on the challenges. What about the trends of like the Pokemon game? How many people have fallen? There's been articles about people that have walked into things or gotten run over or walked off a cliff. I mean, how could you not see a cliff in front of you? It's like walk off a cliff. I'm sorry. This is funny. It's really stupid, but it's really, really bad. It's funny
in today's world that we have been inundated going back into what was it, the 80s with the America's Funniest Home Videos. That was simply.
Well, that's what I was saying. If we've gone from pranking,
laughing at people having accidents and falling down and getting hurt and so forth, and it's kind of like how is that supposed to be entertainment? And yet. That's kind of started the trend of the mindset where, hey, let's, instead of seeking to help somebody in that situation and whatever, of responding by standing there and laughing at them, or seeing someone in some trauma situation of an injury, whatever, as being funny. That kind of is a loss of consciousness to my way of thinking. I see that as a problem. That view we have of how we
I think every single one of us have been there where we have laughed at a very, very dangerous situation. But, have we been programmed to think that way? Have we been programmed to numb ourselves when situations like this arise? And of course, people like me, obviously, yes, I would run to help, but there are so many other people that just they go see, and the first thing they want to do is pull out their camera. Let's not just help these people. Let's go pull out our cell phone and videotape it so that we can put it up on social media so that more people can click those emoticons to show what the public is really thinking about it, and then cause a whole heap of backlash. Like, who knows? You could be ratting out your own best friend because of that situation, just because you have the gift of the gab or your videography know-how of how to get yourself into a situation where you may never be able to get yourself out of. And the thing is, that's why I highly will encourage people, be careful on what you post, because if what you post can cause backlash or something, even if it's just a happy family snap. I've been down the road where I've been trolled by people. Yes, I am an erotic author. This we already know. The thing is that many years ago, like 3 years ago, right? I had my own career put on a pedestal by trolls who thought that they could take advantage because, one, I'm an erotic writer, two, I'm a woman, and three, they decided that, oh, she must be like that in real life, so now we're going to call her every name under the sun, and we're going to tell her that we're going to rape her. Like, really? Where is this leading to for all of these things that is going on? Psychologically, I was screwed up. I was, less politely saying, I was fucked up. And when you go down that route and when you see this as entertainment by laughing at somebody else, not taking into account that they may have emotional problems, they may be wounded, they may be scarred, they may have gone through abuse in childhood, they may have been sexually abused, like in my case. And then you have somebody saying, I'm going to rape you. Like, what the hell? What is wrong with people?
And like Amanda said, there's no promoting of things that are positive, or it's given aftermath status in a news show or wherever, an honorable mention at the end, when by that time everybody's not listening anymore and gone to bed or whatever. It's just kind of well, oh, by the way, instead of having that be the focus, then they're targeted or made fun of for some other reason pertaining to that. And everybody knows that I'm honest to a fault and can be very blunt in speaking my truth, and I'm very vocal with speaking my truth and having a voice of my own. And, but I've had to learn how to temper that most of the time. I try hard anyway, to have it not come across in a cruel way when I say things. But there are those, who are hypersensitive to that and take offense regardless. And you never know when someone's going to do that. And the amount of animosity that can get expressed in those times can escalate to a dangerous point of, them personally targeting you rather than what was said. And, it just is, there's no forethought, I think, with most people in anything you post on social media of how someone could take it. I remember being in a group once where it was a massive group that I belonged to, and I had an issue with people putting pictures of their very young children or babies on the site and naming them by name and so forth, and having like the post be about them with regards, I think it was like a paranormal network of some kind. But it was kind of like, you don't know what deviants are out there who are looking for that stuff. Well, now they can find out where you're from based on your post. They can go to your profile. They can then have full access to you and target your child because you put them out there online and have it be a free-for-all. So it's just this lack of forethought in most things. But, you were mentioning earlier about being targeted and stuff, and everybody, on Facebook anyway, is aware. I had been being targeted too, and my group got targeted for association with the QAnon terrorist organization. And in my group, Willow's Bend, there is never anything that is not positive that gets posted because I don't allow it. I don't allow drama in there, hatred, disrespect, rudeness, racism, anything of that sort. And yet it didn't even get viewed, I don't think, by Facebook in removing it. And they took down the entire group of 6 years. And, I mean, even looking at just the first page of what's viewable when you open the group, there was nothing at all promoting that, but they jumped on it. And I encountered in another podcast that I think that they mainly post to YouTube and then share it here on Facebook. And people in the comments were questioning, why is everything bleeped out in like their text or in their presentation, anything regarding murder, death, a body, drugs, sex, anything like that. And it blew their mind. I said, because of Facebook's community standards, that they can target you and remove you because of those things being mentioned. And, it's, again, that hypersensitivity that some things take. And I get each social media site, they're allowed to have their own standards and rules because it's free for everybody to use, even though we get inundated with ads and whatever, but it's still free to use. So, they can make their own rules, but it's up to the individual to adhere to it. And yes, and my admins also lost their full profiles, as well as I did on Facebook too through that. And, but the idea that someone like me would be associated with a terrorist organization is so beyond laughable, yet it happened. And, I don't, by people unknown, and it's going to remain unknown because they didn't, come forward to talk to me personally. But, whether it's you with your adult erotica material or anybody doing anything, you don't know how it's going to be perceived by others. But, whether it's challenges that are happening, social media influencers, again, it said you can have an impact on people, but it doesn't, the important part isn't whether it's in a positive or negative way. It's just that you are influencing people, who you do have people that follow you regularly in all your posts and so forth. I've guest appeared on shows before for being a social media influencer, and even though I'm not on some grandiose scale, I have a following, and I honor that and take that as a responsibility in all that I do online because of that. And that is how I choose to view that. But obviously, by all these stupid things that are happening out there, lots of others do not. And or they turn it into a drama fest for themselves, or targeting other people on there. But it pits people against each other just by virtue that, hey, I follow you, I like your work. You have a beef with this person. Well, you know what? I'm going to have it too, just because I follow you and I like you. And then it creates all this untold side against side issues, and it ends up promoting negativity,
and then, of course,
rather than discouraging it or promoting lack of common sense versus common sense.
Yeah, and of course, people just like to say things to cause a retaliation so that they've got someone to talk to, or they just want to make drama out of nothing, really, because at the end of the day, majority of these dramas aren't really actually that meaningful in terms of what they do, and they get a rise out of it. It's like, okay, who's having an argument for the day? Let's just speak my mind. Well, unfortunately, there's a thing called honesty, and there's also a thing called brutal honesty. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are using or speaking of brutal honesty and getting themselves into trouble because they're like, well, I don't want to face the backlash of it, so therefore I'm just gonna go with the crowd because that's the way it's gonna be, and because I'm not getting a positive reaction from what I'm saying, even though I'm speaking my truth. Well, then you get the other part of honesty, which is the honesty that you're telling your version of events, your side of the story, so that to influence people to jump on your little gravy train and hope that people will just succumb to whatever the beef you have with another person. And that other person could be very, very, I don't know, you could be negatively talking about them, you could be positively talking about them, but at the end of the day, you're influencing people to sway to your conformed opinions about whoever or whatever subject it may be, just so that you can get your own entertainment. You know how many people, and it's not even about making money at this point, it's just about, how many people can jump on your gravy train because you want to see how many likes and shares you can get. Nobody cares. Like people like me and Donna, we care about our following. Yes, we interact them. What's what any good social media influencer would do? They promote positive outlooks for people so that to keep the thrive of the human race or the human experience going. Then you get the other side of the people that want to twist honesty with white lies they twist it to conform. So what you are doing is you are having a conformist leadership, and which it can be detrimental, can lead to very, very hurt human beings, can lead to all sorts of things. I know with the one of the fads that is going on right now, especially when Donna, you brought up children, there is a challenge right now where I think one of the Kylie Jenner, I think, did it, which is to basically stick her child wherever, sitting down, and putting a bowl of cereal in front of them to see how long they will sit down without touching the cereal.
Which borderlines on abusive behavior.
Like, what the hell?
And having control. And, it is a psychological aspect as well, where when someone grows up surrounded by dysfunction and drama and so forth, that they seek that because that's the only way they know how to function. So if drama doesn't exist, they will create it, because that when there isn't any drama, they're out of their comfort zone. So they will stir the pot and start shit amongst other people just to get the drama going, and then they can sit back and take a deep breath and be like, okay, now I'm good, because that drama is now occurring. And there, unfortunately, are a lot of people out there who do that and thrive in that drama rather than rejecting it, and will jump on the bandwagon, again, taking sides just because they support you. And those who are social media influencers, a lot of them fail to see that there is a set responsibility, in my opinion, that goes along with being one, being aware of your viewers enough to conduct yourself in a certain way, morally, ethically, values, etc., not allowing the negative crap in there, not putting anybody at risk, and so forth, and promoting positivity for a change. And not, if you want to choose to do things on, say, wardrobe or makeup, like Amanda was talking about, okay, fine. Nothing wrong with that if that is your thing. But do it responsibly and not do it, in order to drum up drama with somebody or pit people. And she brought up Jeffree Star. I remember seeing a video where there was some beef going on with him and another celebrity, and they had an entire hour-long video of a rant. And in their opinion, they were simply commenting back on whatever this other person had said about them, but it was still dividing a line in the sand of continuing the drama rather than going and handling it maturely with the other person. They were just promoting it online as a free-for-all, and it could have detrimental effects. And there's that lack of thought of that. So,
and then, of course, you've got the other spectrum of people who are social media influencers that get a rise out of it, who do have psychological problems of their own. So, therefore, the only way that they fill the void is to do this stuff and engage because the retaliation is their fun, their entertainment.
Yep. And they live in that revenge mode, or that stir the pot mode of drama fest time. I used to, as a caseworker, there's still a few of my former families I am connected to on Facebook and so forth. And we just kind of, say hi once in a while, whatever. But I'll see their posts, and they are taking steps backward if they're having a beef with someone, rather than going to the individual and talking to someone like a mature adult. They are putting all that drama out there into social media to drum up the attention for themselves. And that can also be a thing among social influencers, that they are doing it for attention-seeking behavior only for themselves, of, oh, poor you, and, oh, why are they doing this to you? And again, if someone is supporting of you, of course they're going to take your side and not listen to the other person's side, but it's only encouraging that lack of communication to continue, and again, drumming up the drama fest. So there's just a lack of responsibility in how one conducts themselves across many social media influencers, I think, and it's sad to see.
Yeah, and it is psychologically detrimental, because a lot of these people out there are really, they are bored. They're just bored.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is a lot of what goes into like making up all these challenges and so forth. And I think that if a death occurs with one of these challenges, then the police, etc., officials should make an effort to go back to the originator of this and be held accountable in that they put this out there specifically targeting a certain set of population of people. Now, in some cases, I know that had been done. Like there was one that was, what was it called? The 50-day challenge, I think it was called. And there was, trying to find where it is. The details basically were there would be each day a different challenge, but again, it would culminate in the suicide of an individual. And now in that case, they did go back after the person who started it out there. I believe it was called the Blue Whale Challenge. And why that title, I don't know. I didn't see anything that had anything to do with a whale in there, blue whales. But it was a 50 days of self-harming activities. So they are encouraging people to take on this challenge, knowingly going out to do self-harming behaviors, which could be anything of putting yourself at risk and in danger of some act that you're doing, or cutting behaviors. I mean, there's a number of ways that can manifest.
The challenge.
But the final day's challenge was to take your life.
Yeah, the challenge itself.
Did that.
The challenge itself was called the Momo Challenge. And it was, the Momo challenges allegedly utilized social media channels and WhatsApp to encourage children to perform self-harm in early 2019. It was meant to lure children into searching for violent material online or stoke the fears and moral panic in parents. According to law, after texting a number in the app, children received instructions to perform a series of tasks that mirror horror movies, including self-harm, violent attacks, or suicide-related activities. Children believed that they must complete these tasks or Momo would kill them. In 2018, it was reported that 2 teenagers from Colombia took their own lives because of this challenge. Whether or not the challenge was a hoax, because some people pulled that into question, it was enough to spook parents who may have remembered the Slender Man internet lore.
Well, with the Momo one, the original Momo character was I believe in Japan, it was a puppet that someone had made, an entry into a contest of creating a puppet character, and that became the face of Momo. And I remember my daughter getting having voicemails and stuff happen through Facebook or whatever, and it would play, and it would be a computerized voice reading. I heard these myself, and reading off this text concerning, like, this is real, do not delete this message, and if you do not do this within certain number of hours or days, then this is going to happen to you. This is a true story, and so in this location didn't listen to this and was found dead the next day of whatever they died of. That part can vary. I was just like, where are you getting this stuff from? And she said, it's online.
And it's starting, and this
first brought my attention to these things. And the Blue Whale Challenge was separate from Momo, and it was the guy who put it out there, when interviewed afterwards, said he specifically created the challenge so it would target and taking the trash out in the general population. And that's how he viewed it, with creating 50 days of self-harming stuff that an individual would do, culminating in taking their own life. And a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old did actually follow through on the final day of committing suicide. And it would, I imagine, have the effect of breaking you down and demoralizing you to such a respect that you would feel like you had nothing worth living for in the end. And so take your life as a result. It seemed like a good idea.
The other thing is, too,
was held accountable legally, thankfully, but the stuff is out there.
The other thing is, too, is almost decriminalizing the act itself.
Yes,
making
absolutely,
it okay
and that's
for
where I was
anybody and
glad
everybody
that he was held legally accountable for it, not only in terms of a lawsuit from those people who the parents and family of those who had ones who actually went on to commit suicide in minors. However, legally charges were pressed, and he, I believe, is currently in jail as a result, thankfully, as one should be, because there should be accountability with these things when death occurs, whether it is known when you start out that you have the intent to cause that in the end, but in not thinking about the seriousness before you put these things out there of what could happen is, I think, should be held accountable to in some way as well. And people in my chat are talking about, like our own old chain letters. And yes, absolutely. If you don't forward this on to 10 people, then this trauma is going to happen to you. And then there was even a trend on Facebook that people would forward it on, that if you don't send this on to 40 people, then, this is going to be the consequence of that. And they were absolutely ridiculous. And when I would confront people with that, to say, I really don't want to receive this stuff. Please stop sending me this, because I'm not going to do it. And they would say, I just don't want to take any chances. So it played into people's superstitions and so forth as well, of not wanting to take a chance that something bad could come of it, and believing the material, that it was accurate and true, that there would be that consequence if they didn't follow through. Even the ones that get religious with, if you don't, God is watching you and knows that you're in need. So if you forward this on to 40 people, your fondest wish will come true by tomorrow. It's like, really? God has nothing better to do than watch my Facebook posts to see how many times I'm sharing something? Yeah, okay, sure. It's ludicrous, but there are those that find it valid and believe in it enough to do it, because they don't want to take a chance of missing that opportunity, because God's watching them to make sure that they do share it out. And it's like, there's no common sense factor in there.
Here's the thing. The movie that came out recently, Unfriended, is starting to make this whole scenario very real. Now, I know that the movie Unfriended is quite a fictional movie, but it does highlight the dangers of social media and what we do on social media, what we put out on social media, and what we say in public that goes to social media. So for those who are sitting here and listening to this, that you might want to just double check what you're actually posting. By all means, go back to the days when we used to post kitty cats and dogs and anything, or anything that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Desensitizing,
supporting happiness and joy, or eliciting those things in you.
The whole point,
promoting, hey, this is gonna make you laugh or just feel good, but it's innocent, good stuff. Happy animals frolicking, playing, whatever, cats getting into stuff, things of that nature. And there's fewer and fewer of those things out there. I tend to put them out there because I want that shared if I can make one person laugh that day, great. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But other people, I know there was a trend for a while of animal abuse videos put out there. Now granted, it was taken from the viewpoint of, catch this person, if you know anything about this, please report it. But there would never be a follow-up video to say what happened to it. And I had people unfriend me who saw that posted to my timeline by a friend. I don't come on Facebook to be exposed to that stuff. And it's like, well, not looking at it doesn't negate its existence. And it's that I think awareness should be promoted educationally, that, hey, this stuff does go on and these people should be held accountable. But at the same time, is my entire Facebook page going to be filled with that stuff? Absolutely not. And I don't at all reside within that place of negativity with anything. And yes, that stuff can be painful to watch and so forth, but it does happen out there. And I think if I share something like that, it's to promote awareness and education, not to promote the negative aspect of it. But I share out those happy things of videos of animals playing and getting into hijinks and whatever that can make you laugh. And that's what social media to me should be more about, not I remember when I was raised, my mother used to hammer it into my head of, don't air your dirty laundry in public, and you don't talk about that stuff in public. And I always would question, well, why not? Like, what is wrong with talking about that? And to me, keeping certain things a secret, that only promoted keeping those bad things going rather than bringing it out to the light of day to be taken a look at. But when it's done to drum up drama, well, then, yeah, that's a problem. And that, I think, needs to be looked at. But if someone's asking for help or whatever, or even just not keeping secrets like that, then I never understood the logic behind that. I still, to this day, kind of view it the same way as I did as a child, that, like, why can't this stuff be talked about? And people in my group are used to me saying, no topic is taboo, because you create a fear of something by not being willing to discuss it just because it might be slightly uncomfortable or whatever. But it's to explore it educationally, not to promote the drama aspect of it. So, different viewpoints on it, I guess. But there is much common sense thought put into when you share something. What is the impact going to be of this? How are people going to respond to that? Those drama-filled posts people will make alluding to the fact that they may go and try to take their life. I can't do this anymore. I'm out, or I'm done, and I'm not going to do this anymore. And then walking away from their social media site or their device, everybody rushes in. Are you okay? Are you all right? Please let us know you're okay. And they don't even notice that people are fussing and worrying about them, and they had no intention of committing suicide. It's looking for attention more than anything to show that people care about you, but it's the wrong way to go about it. I've never seen any one of those. Suicide is typically a very private, intimate thing. You don't want to be discovered doing it because of the embarrassment factor, the violating your personal code of ethics and morals that you're raised with, whatever. But it's not something you broadcast across social media when you're going to go do it. But again, it's that no thinking ahead of how people will respond to it. So those things become a problem. Tanya in my group is saying, I try to share good things. I always start saying things on social media as if standing in the middle of an auditorium and tell them everything. And, that is a good way to look at it, is that you are saying it out there to an auditorium full of people, and what is going to be the response of that. And stopping to have a little common sense to apply to how it may be taken in by virtue of, again, what is the population of the people that it's going out there to? How many people just get a random friend request from somebody and automatically add them in just because they sent you a friend request without checking on, who is this person? Do I know them? How well do I know them? Or just because they know somebody I know, I'm not giving them access to my personal life because of that. I have to stop and think about that. I have had a stalker in the past. So yes, that's a concern of mine. So I do that. I have that consciousness of, unless I interact with you a few times to feel comfortable where I can kind of vibe you out as a person, you're not getting added to my personal life on Facebook or any other social area of my life. It's a very personal thing to me, but many people just, hey, go ahead, you're a friend, want to be friends, cool. And there's granted many of those people you add in and they never go to your personal page and look at you, but then there are those that do. I just had a message today to my Facebook page where some guy's trying to hit on me, and I hope you don't mind, but I went and took a look at your profile, and you're so pretty, and blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, my profile is publicly blocked, so you're not going to see anything more than maybe my profile picture, thankfully. But, it's not a dating site for me. I don't go on there with the intention of wanting to be hit on by every guy who sees my picture. And if you find me attractive, thanks, but not interested in hooking up with a stranger for some electronic sexting relationship. That doesn't interest me whatsoever.
And the majority,
but most of them do ask, hey, can you add me as a friend and get to know each other? Well, no, I can't, and I won't. Sorry.
And the majority of these people, actually, when you do go over to their profiles anyway, and this is what we brought up in last week's show, a lot of these people also don't have hardly anything on their profile, and if they do, it's just sharing out other people's posts so that they've got something on theirs so they don't look so suspicious. Then these people will DM you out of nowhere, and just like Donna said, they will say, "Oh, I think you're beautiful. I think this, and I think that, and blah blah blah, and I want to work with you, and I find you highly attractive, and so forth." But these people and then they move on to the next question. So where are you from?
Yep.
If you've gone to my profile, you would know.
Hey, I'm from here. Where are you from? I
had the same thing today.
None of your damn business, and I am not interested. And so, you know what? You want to look at profiles? Go look at someone else's because you're now blocked. Was my response, and I blocked them. It's none of your business. That doesn't turn me on in any way or get my attention by commenting on my looks, because beauty fades, and I don't want to be known just for how someone, and I understand the human mind instantly forms an opinion based on someone's appearance within like 1/10 of a millionth of a second. You instantly have that, whether you find them nice to look at or not. That aside, it doesn't mean that you have to comment on it to somebody. It doesn't mean you have to follow it up with trying to hit on somebody. And that's not why I'm on social media. And that's not the way to approach me, because that, for me, is an instant turnoff. And even those guys who may approach it differently and say, hey, I respect what you do. I saw you, and I really thought that what you said was accurate and spot on. And you seem like you have a very beautiful soul, and you have this, hey, great creative post. Thank you. But I still have no interest in being friends with you because I don't know you. Well, you're not going to get to know me if you don't give me. Well, you're right. I won't. But again, that if you're interested in my work, come to my shows or join my group. But doesn't mean you need access to my personal life.
And actually learn something, because the majority of these people, men and women alike, they will go through, the majority of the smart ones will go through your entire profile, and they'll find something connecting you to them somehow, some way, and then it will lead on to the soul connection. Oh, I like you. I think we're supposed to be together. I think you're attractive. You're beautiful. Nothing in your life, and of course they prey on the vulnerabilities of that, and then of course they go into once they've got you in all of their vulnerabilities. It's like, okay, so I have known you from here and I've known you from there, but then at the same time they don't know you from jiddly squat. What they're doing is they're love bombing you and they're gaslighting you.
Yep. And if you go to their profiles, it's a brand new profile, and it may say, oh, just changed profile picture, but it was just created that day or yesterday, and they don't have any history. They don't, or it even in the fine print underneath their profile picture, I've even seen where it's a guy's picture, but it said so and so, but the guy's name, she just changed her profile picture. Red flags, folks. Don't engage. If they're making, now granted, something can happen to someone's profile that they need to make a new one for. That can happen. I mean, I went through that after I got accused of the Terrorist Activity Association, whatever, and had to, because for me, as a social media influencer, as many of the people I engage with have become family to me, and I know if I just disappear, people are going to worry, and I don't want to do that to people and have them worrying if I'm okay, and they don't necessarily have any other means to reach me. Well, sure, so I made a new profile, but I still didn't use a different profile picture. I didn't use a different name, or I still left identifier, said, hey, yes, this is me, and you can message me and say, is this you? And those who are trolling aren't going to play that game of, at least not that I've seen yet, where yes, it's me, and or if I see that in somebody, I'll ask a question of something that I would only know of a personal nature of somebody from personal interaction,
and
to
you know
have it
what's
be kind of a test question, if you will, to validate it's them and not just some scammer or whatever. So.
You know what's really, really funny, Donna, is the fact that just as I finished up my statement and then you went to speak, Mr. Benito Cabito came into the frickin' Zoom and then figured out what we were saying and exited.
Busted.
I kid you not.
Yeah.
It was a guy.
Nice. Yeah. But we get those things all the time, and I don't find it. If someone's interested in my work genuinely, thank you. I'm flattered that you find it interesting, and I always just refer. Hey, you're that's the case. You're welcome to join my group and watch the shows that way. But let me do access to my personal profile. I don't want to be friends.
Let me do what I did last.
Someone does join my group, I have to see them in the show a few times, personally engage with them a few times before I even consider adding them on. So
yeah, I mean, it's superficial. It's very, very superficial. Yes, I mean, of course, there's some very beautiful people out there, and of course, and God love them. That just there are a lot of people out there. I can't say this more than enough. But it doesn't mean I'm going to hit on them. And this face that you see here, just like I did last week, this face right here is more than that. So,
yes,
and like I'll repeat again, yes, my studio is in my bedroom, and I do not invite you in my bedroom. I am purely talking to you as raising awareness to educate you into knowing what the red flags are, knowing what the subjects that we talk about are each week, knowing what a social media influences and what the psychological and detrimental reaction can be, good or bad, for people that do follow other people. Like, for instance, a lot of people were cursed out going politically for following Trump. But let's flip this over now. Now that we have a new president in, and not to bring up politics but I'm using this as an example. But we spent years and years and years, well, 4 years in total, but years in during the whole Trump hater kind of group, right? The MAGA and all that kind of stuff. Now that Joe Biden is now in office, he's now the new administration of the United States. Do you see anybody? It's like everybody's disappeared. Nobody wants to talk about Joe Biden. Nobody wants to talk about Trump.
Wait and see.
Like there's nothing.
If he makes a mistake, and then it's going to be, jumping all over him and taking sides more, because it's still relatively new. People are waiting to see. But yeah, I mean, I've had incidences of people saying, "Oh, someone made a post about this president," and I commented back, and then they attack me for it. And I don't know, I get they're a friend of yours, but this made me uncomfortable or whatever. And well, then, you know what? Don't go to their page. Simple as that. Or nothing is saying you have to be friends with them or having accepted their friend request. Again, there are so many people in the world who are out there who are maybe predators, who are users, who are there to take advantage of it, who thrive on the misery of others. And that is, Amanda was talking about earlier about, that makes the news. Well, that is true. It does. And there is this hyper focus on the negative and the minimizing of the positive. And now, by the same token, there are many, many beautiful, wonderful, amazing people out there who are doing good work and doing good things. But their followers tend to be less than those that are promoting the negative stuff. I mean, I have 2 pages of notes here of all the different kinds of challenges that have occurred, and where poor judgment is being used, and people have been harmed as a result of this, and sometimes death or harmed for life, scarred for life, whatever has been a result, and there's no accountability for that as being responsible for that. Karen is saying in chat, I had to ask someone if putting down 2 billion people made them feel better. And it is that lack of conscious knowing of handling yourself in a certain way. And, when I was in the professional world, as blunt and as honest as I can be in speaking my truth, I had to learn of rewording how I voiced that truth so that it didn't be taken wrong, and it usually how it got taken wrong would be the complete opposite of what I intended or meant my message to be, yet someone heard it a different way and ran with it. So I had to learn to modify it enough to where the same message is getting across without hurting someone in any way by being too blunt. And, we are groomed as a population to, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, or, it's even better to lie rather than to make someone feel better than to be honest and truthful. You know what? I would rather be hurt by the truth than fooled by a lie, personally. And I give others that respect in being as honest as I am. But many are not accustomed to that. And for me, I'm not comfortable doing that word dance with people of beating around the bush and not speaking what should be said or put out there. I am the person that'll walk up and tuck your tag back into your shirt for you, or if you get your skirt caught in your pantyhose as you come out of the bathroom, I'm going to be the one to go say something to you to save you that embarrassment. But by the same token, I find something about one person that I can say as an honest compliment to someone to help boost them for their day, and maybe make their day that much brighter by making them smile and feel good about themselves. So there's, a difference in that versus throwing all these things out there. And especially when you're in a position as a leader, if you will, as an influencer of other people, where you have a following, listening to every word you say, watching everything you do, and putting that stuff out there without forethought of how it's going to impact others, or those that do follow you, how they're going to listen to you, what they're going to do with that information. And again, with these things, some of them are meant to be good fun and are meant to be harmless, but there's no thought of the consequences. I mean, we have everything from the cinnamon challenge, where you're supposed to eat like a spoonful of cinnamon in 60 seconds or less without drinking anything. Okay, but the problem with that is if you get choking on it because all the moisture from your mouth is absorbed into the cinnamon, you can inhale it, and then it can get into your lungs, and can be a chemical reaction that occurs that can, cause permanent damage within your lungs, and or possibly surgery needing to ensue because of that, or die from choking on it and having it block your airway. It may be meant as harmless of, hey, cinnamon's a lot stronger than most people think when you're eating it by a spoonful. So in and of itself, yeah, it's harmless, but people aren't thinking that this can happen, so maybe I better rethink putting it out there.
The other thing too is that I just wanted to mention.
I think tags. One day I'm going to be hit.
Well, the other thing is too is that I just wanted to mention. I mean, we make in society right now racism is a very, very big deal in terms of education from elementary school, and yes. Why don't we incorporate the social media or just internet education to young children? If we're so hell-bent on educating people about racism and of the history of the past, why can't we educate children of the history of the future? I mean, history is not the same thing as the future, but still, get what I'm saying? The future. The things to be aware of that happen out there, things to look out for.
Obviously, things that have to be red flags and so forth.
We're so hell-bent.
I remember back when I was a caseworker, at one point I was asked to teach a class on independent life skills to foster care youth to help prepare them for when they grew out of and aged out of the system, to give them life skills that they would need to survive on their own. And I had proposed adding that to the curriculum of this information is important to some extent, that hey, there needs to be some monitoring this. Use common sense when you're out there online, because there are predators out there. There are those who prey on youth. There are those who will promote you to do stupid things, and don't jump on the bandwagon just because your friends are doing it or whatever. And they seem surprised. The higher ups seem surprised by that. Like,
yeah.
that's not a life skill, isn't it though?
I
Think
know
of how
for a fact.
important the internet is to people. And when it first came out, it seemed like only the youth were on it for gaming purposes and communicating with one another, and it was really a foreign concept to us adults who hadn't grown up with it and been exposed to it and had to kind of learn it as we went along after the fact. But now even adults are as much glued to the internet and their devices as the kids are in our lives. And are we any more discerning than some of the youth are in many cases? For me, I love the fact that all the libraries of the world are accessible online for free. All this knowledge is out there that I can seek out. I enjoy being buried in research and having that be a thing, and hence doing my shows in my group every week. And I enjoy that. And that's why I do it. And I don't get paid to do it. I do it because I enjoy it, and for everybody else to help teach something of interest. But so many people are either terrified of it, or they hide out on, or not hide out, but reside on social media sites rather than using it for the positive aspects it can hold with the internet in general. They just simply live on Facebook or YouTube and watching the videos and so forth. Well, then let's put out stuff of meaningful content. And I'm not saying I think that the government should come in and lay down a bunch of ground rules for having that accountability per se, because then you can be infringing on freedom of speech rights and so forth. But there should still be accountability if harm befalls somebody because of that. And in that movie Unfriended you referenced, Aaron had held a watch party on that, and that's how I saw it with him. And I kind of figured out before it happened in the movie, the end of it, of where they were going to go with it. But it got you thinking, this is scary that, what started out as a group of people being manipulated by another group of people online, and all your information being accessible and used against you, to where, no, it's much bigger. It's on a global scale that people are engaging and being involved in this stuff, and it isn't always good. And there is the dark web stuff out there as well, which is even more frightening. I should do the nutmeg challenge. I think I'll avoid that as well. Remember licking toad bellies to get high. That is still a thing among some people, Renee, just saying.
People are looking for a way out. That's what they're doing. They're looking for a way out. And in terms of what I was saying before about the education, I mean, we're so hell bent on certain subjects. We're trying not to repeat the past, but yet we're repeating the past, but putting it into the future as well at the same time. But it all starts from educating our children. So parents like you and I, Donna, and many of you out there who are parents should be educating our children right from a very early age. None of these excuses as to why we can't educate our children. I mean, then we wonder why in their teens they go, yes, they are experiencing their own experiences. They are walking their walk, so to speak, good or bad, doesn't matter. And they are learning to have make their own mistakes. But at the same time, if we educate them right from a very early age, then we're able to influence them in some way. Not just have me and Donna in mid-adulthood talking to all of you people and educating you at a later stage in life, when this is something that you should have already known.
And I remember when I used to teach my daughter all these things about online safety and even personal safety, being aware of your space, who's around you, make sure you know where the exits are wherever you are, and keep an eye on your environment as you're moving through it. Those types of things. She just would shrug me off and thinking I was being overprotective and so forth. But then, as she had a couple of experiences when she went away to college that involved, when she'd be walking down the road to go to town to run to the store, being followed in cars and people and men catcalling her and so forth. And it scared the death out of her. But she came to see, hey, this stuff is real. And if in those moments she knew that she could reach out and call me, and I would advise her, but also to remember some of the things I taught her. Hey, if you pull it out of your hat then and don't pay attention initially, even if you think they're not listening, they're paying attention. I've seen that happen more than once with youth where, in the aftermath, I was like, you never listen to anything I used to say to you to try to help you. And they would come back and say, I was listening more than you thought I was. So even if their actions are saying, I'm tuning you out, it doesn't mean you stop trying to give and instill those lessons in your children, because they are paying attention. And what's that old saying of little pictures have big ears? That is true. And, kids hear things, they see things, they watch, they listen. Even if they're acting like they're not, they're still taking it in and they're aware. So if they're tucking it away for future reference, then at least it's a tool in their toolbox should they encounter stuff at another time in their life when you're not there at their side, to shake a finger at them and say, what are you doing? Pay attention. Like, what are you doing? Use your mind and think about this. They are pulling that tool out in a moment. Oh, yeah, I remember this, and applying it. And it involves having common sense. And even if you have to be reminded to use common sense, at least you have the skill to use when it counts and when time counts. But a lot of these kids, and then there was a trend of parents in the 1990s, 2000s who they were so busy with living their lives, working all these hours and so forth, that they wanted to be their children's friends more than parents, and or felt guilty for the number of hours they were having to work, that they gave their kids everything that they wanted, and having no restrictions or guidelines for that, and then having the kids play out with becoming self-entitled and demanding in life and expecting, that trophy for just being present in a situation rather than doing something that needed recognition. It was that, hey, recognize me just because I'm me. Give me that trophy because I'm me. Remember that medal around my neck just because I'm so-and-so. And having that mentality. And so I think that I've always watched with curiosity with each subsequent group of, like, as my kid grows up and if she grows on to become a parent herself, what is going to be retained in teachings that she's going to pass on, and those lessons can kind of come about. And even if it's by experience, to say, oh my God, I have that recognition of, I did this when I was your age, and I'm not going to allow that with my child, or I'm going to make a more conscious effort to avoid this pitfall that I maybe put you through as growing up. Those are the things that are important, that stick with you, that again lead to common sense decisions. And these things, all these challenges, again, I notes on all the different challenges out there. They are lacking in that the common sense factor of what's going to happen if I do this, in lieu of peer pressure and listening to the social influencers who may be playing a more important role in their lives than their parents are. Or they're paying attention to them more than what they would listen to their parents, and guidance-wise, because you get in that mindset of, I know it all and you know nothing, even though, you may have had 20, 30 years of life experience before they were born. Doesn't matter, because so-and-so is saying it, then their opinion matters, and they're going to follow that lead. And that's where it can get dangerous. I mean, snorting condoms, to have it, the goal is to have it go in your nose and be able to pull it out of your throat, out through your mouth. Well, you know what? Guess what? Sometimes that's not the end result. Sometimes it goes down into your airway and gets stuck, and you can have to have surgery because of it, blocking your esophagus, and you can't fully breathe, or having illnesses result from the chemicals on the condom going down your throat and into your system until it can be gotten out of, if you don't choke on it first and die from, asphyxiation.
Well, that's the other asphyxiation.
Asphyxiation.
There you go.
We all did those things with like spaghetti and things when as a child of the 70s, that's what I did. Swallowing the spaghetti and pulling it back out your throat or something and having it still be whole.
Or milk.
Things of that nature. But again, there was a harmlessness to it that is a natural thing for a kid to try because it's funny, it's amusing for whatever reason, but there was no danger factor in it. Whereas today's youth are taking it to that level because they're listening to the social influencers, directing them to try, challenging them, and just in the mindset of being a youth in today's world, you get challenged to do something, it's like a dare. Somebody dares you to do it, you're going to do it just to show them that, hey, I'm not afraid, I'm going to do this, but no thought to consequences in the aftermath.
The other thing is too,
exactly, things of that nature.
Donna, I was just going to say, to add to that, yes, we should be educating our children, but the other thing is too is that a lot of us don't know how to cope. Our resiliency skills, we total as a society, we really lack. When we get bombarded with these trolls, this hatred, this backlash, we really don't know how to cope with this. So our resiliency therefore lacks, and when resiliency has lacked, we tend to go on the depressive side. We go to the negative. We instantly drown ourselves in our own sorrows because we're thinking, oh, look, what have we done now? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, and then it causes mental health issues and so on and so forth. And then we've got to get through that. And of course, it weighs on a big burden of the mental health department. And then we wonder why everybody's got health issues. It's just exacerbated.
Absolutely. And the thing with that stuff is you don't know out there who does have mental health issues or not. They may broadcast everything that happens in one's day and use social media as a journal of sorts for themselves, of describing every minute detail of their day to the world, or putting out those drama-filled posts and so forth. But along with that, what is behind that is that they are mentally ill, and that's why they're doing it, and they feel the need to publicize that or to have that part of them be heard and using it as a platform to have a rant. When we see those people, and I've done this before myself, where I experience something that happens that is really frustrating, that should be a common sense thing. For example, with someone who's providing a service and they bomb out on customer service or whatever it is, and you come on and you make a post of, why is it that so-and-so can't do this, and how hard is that to accomplish this when you're paying them for this service, that type of thing. That's different than directing somebody to go put themselves in harm's way with intention and saying, yeah, let's see, do you dare? Can you do it? I triple dog dare you. Get on it and go do this. And let's see if you can handle doing this too. Eating Tide Pods. Pardon me, but fuck people. What the hell? And that's all I can say to that one. Like, I mean, the epitome of the facepalm emoji across the board on that one. What would make a child think about that? In our day, when we were growing up, and God, that just made me sound so ancient and old, but, soap in your mouth was a punishment for swearing as a kid or something, and getting a swipe of dish liquid or a bar of soap in your mouth, that was a punishment. That was a bad thing that you wanted to avoid having happen. This is eating it with intention, and to see, can I do this? And then getting violently ill and or dying as a result of the chemical composition of this. There is no common sense involved in this.
I thought
because you got challenged to do it by somebody you have respect for, hey, that's a good idea, let's do it. Or, hey, that sounds like fun.
Hey, I'm going to act my age, and yeah, I've been down there with this whole soap in the mouth kind of shit, and it really, 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 don't want to
my mom was a Dawn dish liquid kind of lady, so you got to swipe a Dawn dish liquid in your mouth for swearing around her, and even as a teenager, whatever, and nasty. So why would I want to eat a wash load size serving of laundry soap with intention. Where in there do you think that that's a good idea and without consequence? Every one of these things have big bright labels saying, warning, do not ingest. Warning, these chemicals can cause caustic burns through your soft tissue of your body and can cause intestinal bleeding, can cause this as a consequence. And nobody reads those labels. It's just, hey, well, you dared me, so I'm going to go do it. And
does soap have the same label? I'm curious now.
I think that with like dish liquid, like the liquid cleaners of any kind, most of them do have that kind of a warning label on them. Probably based on our parents who punished us with that as kids and us getting sick of it. If the parent went too far with it, giving them a big fat squirt of it, or making you swallow it or something, and then getting violently ill from it, things of that nature. But there's just again this lack of thought of any consequence coming of it. There is another one. It's called the Chubby Bunny Challenge. How many oversized marshmallows can you fit into your mouth at one time and then have to say chubby bunny because it sounds funny? Or it's also done with cotton balls. And, there have been people who, one girl had seizures as a result of it, blocking her airways, and she was left with permanent neurological damage as a result. Okay, so it's it sounds funny to say and talk. Same thing with eating Ritz crackers is another variation of this challenge I've heard of. How many crackers can you put into your mouth and then try to talk? Or just by number, how many of these can you put in your mouth at once? But, again, there's no thought of, hey, I could die from this. I could choke on this, or this could cause permanent damage to my body. And there's also another one that's kind of scary, putting salt on your arm of your bare skin
and then putting
ice on top of it to see who can tolerate the pain the longest. And there's a chemical reaction that occurs with your skin from the salt and the ice that can lead to a faster rate of frostbite occurring. And, when you don't feel the pain anymore, then that can promote you to do it for longer because it's not hurting. Well, that's a sign of frostbite, is when you leave that painful, your nerves get damaged to such an extent, they're not putting out pain signals anymore. And so, hey, let's leave it on longer because it doesn't hurt as much now. So,
it's the same as
people are coming away with permanently damaged parts of their body because they've gotten frostbite. In some cases, we all know cases of frostbite where fingers and toes have to get removed as a result of that. Well, can you imagine that on a chunk of your arm, of having a big scoop of your arm being missing as a result of that it damaged all the soft tissue and into the muscle of that because you were an idiot and decided to follow this challenge? I mean, the fire challenge, Amanda was alluding to that, putting flammable liquid on your hand or whatever and lighting it. And it's resulting in second and third degree burns, as of catching yourself on fire. And there was one girl who also happened to be having on a lot of flammable perfume when she did this challenge, and it ended up igniting all of her, not just her hand or wherever she had the liquid with intention. The perfume on her body caught fire and gave her second and third degree burns. And sorry, but guess what? That stuff permanently scars.
Well, that goes back to
grafts and multiple surgeries to repair. So
it also goes into back in the 90s. I don't know if it was before that, but I certainly remember in the 90s where, grabbing a can of sprayable deodorant, and seeing how close you could spray it to your skin. It's the same as the salt and ice. Only thing is that with the deodorant, because it's an aerosol, spraying it that close to your skin will cause the same reaction as it does for salt and ice. It was no longer about get a match and start spraying an aerosol and grab and light up whatever the flammable thing is in the aerosol. It's now, let's just spray it on your skin. Don't do what you're normally supposed to do with aerosol sprays. Just spray it up against your skin and see how many burn marks you have or can get.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I know I had a client once who horsing around with her brother. They were, I guess, arguing regarding gas fumes being ignitable. And so they had the gas cap off of the gas can, and they didn't believe it. So they were lighting, lighter or whatever they used at the time. And it ignited, and it ended up giving her second and third degree burns all up the side of her legs. And she had to have, at the point I was working with her, like 20 odd surgeries to repair this with skin grafts. And she had horrible scarring as a result of it. And, there were no parents around to supervise that when it happened. And although there kind of should have been, or not, the gas can shouldn't have been accessible to the kids to begin with. But, these things happen. And yet there are lifetime consequences that you can face from some of these. And are you willing to do that going into these types of challenges? Are you willing to carry the side effects of this and the cause? Everything has an equal and opposite reaction. So everything has a consequence that we do in our lives. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, and sometimes they just are and they're not a big deal. But what if it's bad? You're going to have to deal with that for the duration of your life, or at least sometimes many months or years even, before that you're going to feel the after effects of that one poor decision in that one moment. And is that something you're willing to take on by trying one of these idiotic challenges that there's, no one's thinking before that of those things? Right. Someone's mentioning making hairspray torches and stuff as a kid, but it wasn't aimed at somebody. But, that's different than spraying it directly in close range as your skin. It has the same effects as dry ice, and which, you can't handle with bare skin because it will remove your bare skin with it because of just how dangerously cold it is and the chemical reaction that occur. We already talked about the condom challenge and the Kylie Jenner lip challenge, and I've seen pictures they had online of the side effects of that, of having, all these broken blood vessels and massive bruising all around your lips. You're going to carry that for a good week at least or more, but you can also cause permanent nerve damage to lose sensation to your lips. So you're not going to know if you bite your lip or you burn your lip or what have you, and you're going to have that damage for the rest of your life because it's, guess what, permanent. So
Donna, where do we go from here? I mean, we are coming up to the end of the 2 hours here. Where do we go from here? I mean, we can mention all night about challenges and how detrimental, but how do we combat this as social media influencers? Like I said in the beginning of the show, Donna and I are positive social media influencers. We respond and react to what we put out, which is in positive light, in education. But how do we combat and how do we move forward for those other social media influencers who are detrimental to possibly our own health and let alone our mental health?
I almost think that there should be a legal consequence for someone posting something promoting that action. I mean, and I get from a legal standpoint that it has to actually take place, that a threat of doing so or whatever isn't enough. It's when someone makes that choice to do that. But if so, then yes, they should be held accountable for promoting that to begin with. But I think from a parental standpoint, of having that discussion with your kids, even if they don't want to hear it, you gotta. It's your as a parent's job to teach our kids, not be their friend first, or well, I don't want them mad at me. And so I think that it's one of those things where common sense has to come into play, teaching our children of having that discretion of when they encounter different social media influencers of what to pay attention to, or taking the time as a parent to go in and investigate yourself what's out there and use those as examples in showing your child, hey, this stuff is not okay, and this is why, and this is what can come of it. So think before you act on these things, because we can't control them. They're not in our sights 24/7. So You got to give them the tools to handle it on their own and promote common sense thinking, discretion. And if you can't do it from a place of responsibleness and positivity as a social media influencer, then give the audience the tools to make good choices when they're in the situation of encountering them, and hold them legally accountable should something happen as the end result from the person doing it. Even if they're willingly going to do it, of course, that's their choice. But if they're young, then again, it's commonplace that youth don't have that ability to see long term with consequences and so forth. So I think holding the media influencer accountable for that is valid.
And the other thing is too is that if you are following a social media influence that is I mean, forget about sarcastic posts and whatnot, but because some of them are really, really funny, but just remember that there is always going to be an adverse reaction to sarcasm, and there's always going to be an adverse reaction to other posts that are detrimentally being influenced upon yourself. So what we're trying to say here is that too, don't follow the crowd. Just because it looks good doesn't mean it's good for you. So if you are seeing, pictures or posts or challenges, so on and so forth, don't be so quick to jump on board. You can watch it, by all means, have your entertainment out of it, but don't sit there and think that this is a good thing to yourself. But if I was put into that position, I would be unfollowing those people and becoming unsupportive of their of what they do, because at that point it's a question about ethics and morality, whether I want to be involved with someone that is actually influencing bad behavior.
And I think also in some cases, if you are seeing where detrimental actions are transpiring from someone advising people to do these things, you're seeing it play out, report it to whomever, whatever social media site you're on. Bring it to those people's attention at least, and let them look at it at least. It is going to give a second set of eyes on it, and they can deem whether it's appropriate or not, but at least you're doing something.
Exactly.
And you can't influence what everybody else does, says, or thinks by any means, but you can conduct yourself in such a way to not promote those things.
Exactly.
So...
Exactly. And with that said, we're going to wrap up the show now. If you are interested, next week's show is going to be on tattoos and their meanings and the symbology behind tattoos. We're going to be talking about that next week at Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Soma Fusion Media. If you would like more information, you can go to soma-fusion.com or somafusionmedia.com. Check out all of the shows. If you haven't already gone over to YouTube, go and like and subscribe over there. Press the little bell button so you know, so that you are notified on when we have shows on. We do have quite a few shows on each week, so you can go over to the somafusionmedia.com website to have a look at the shows that we have. And not only that, if you are watching on Facebook Live, don't forget to like or show your little emoticon. Show us that you love the show, share out the show, comment on the show, and by all means go over to the Facebook Soma Fusion Media page and go share out from there, because there's lots of stuff that we do in between shows and lots of stuff that can be shared. So share it out with your friends and family. Maybe one day somebody would be educated out there. Any last words?
Hopefully. And so with that said, I'm Donna Gorton. That's Katie Kamara. And we will see you guys next week in here, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, for Goddesses and Devils. And we're sure that Amanda Mcmanus will make some form of an appearance for a minute or two. She usually does. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we wish her all the love in the world as well, as she's taking care of herself at this time. So thank you all for watching and listening everywhere. We really appreciate that love and support. And we will see you guys around social media.
Yes, you will. And not only that, Donna, what's your topic for tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night in Willows Bend, I'm going to be covering the different divination tools out there, the ways to use them, any rules to follow, etc., and hopefully teach people how to use these things so that they're not having any negative experiences come of them if they choose to use them.
And what time are you on?
That is at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is on the Willows Bend group. Anyone's welcome to join, but no, I don't tolerate any BS in there either, or disrespect, rudeness, racism, politics, any of that stuff that's going to cause any issues is not allowed in there. So just know that if you're going to join. But I do the weekly show in there and it also airs through Soma Fusion Network and gets broadcast globally and through the radio and so forth. So that's 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday nights.
Okay, and my show that's coming up this week is will be on involution, and I'll be talking about blending Eastern and Western, or Eastern mysticism and Western practicality, talking about how the inner evolution of the heart, mind, and soul. So if you guys want to check that out, it's going to be on at 9 p.m. on Wednesday. I will say that the last 2 weeks I have missed out on the topics. So what I will do is I will fast forward them to the following week. So yes, I'm going to be doing involution this week, and the other two topics from the last 2 weeks will be fast forwarded. So look out for that. Until then, everyone have a safe and blessed evening and a great week ahead.
Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening. Love to all.